And I presume today, I'm not calling this a hopeful versus cynics debate, but I get a sense it could take that turn, though none of us want to be cynical before a government is sworn in. Anyway, that's only with a view to have two sides to the debate. Kiran Bedi, who joins us today, has apparently tweeted, and don't tell me, I'm not on Twitter, so in case I got it wrong, correct me, Kiran Bedi, but I think you've said something to the effect, I am not averse to joining the Indian political service. Have you said something like that? You smile, so I presume I'm right. So people will think, is Kiran Bedi joining the BJP full-time like MJ Akbar? Is she joining the BJP in Delhi? Is she going to be the chief ministerial candidate if Harshvardhan goes out, which is the buzz? Is she going to join the cabinet? Well, Kiran Bedi, we'll wait. Sanjay Jha, welcome. Lord Meghnad Desai, joining our debate. And also with us today, Vandana Shiva. She's founder, Research Foundation for Science, Technology and Ecology. She's among those today who is going there to keep watch on what the government does. And Pawan Verma, senior leader of the JDU, doesn't want to be called a cynic, but I'd like to start today with you, Pawan Verma. Expectation number one, let's be specific today, and is the burden of expectations such that the BJP, the government, may be the victim of its own expectations? Pawan Verma, let's start the debate.
And Arnab, let me say, I think it is time to congratulate the BJP and its leader, Mr. Narendra Modi. In a political democracy, there are ups and downs in elections, and one has to be gracious and give them their due. They won a resounding and emphatic victory. And let me also add, every government needs time to settle down and outline its priorities. Having said that, there is no doubt, Arnab, that expectations are extremely high, largely because Mr. Narendra Modi has projected that he has a magic wand for many of the complex problems that this country faces. It was the easiest part of this campaign to criticize the Congress government-led UPA too. Even a child could have done it, I think, with a fair degree of conviction. The more difficult task comes now. The more difficult task comes now when you have to deliver on some of the somewhat lavish promises you have made, and we wish him the best in doing so. But in that scenario, I think there are very major problems, and there will be conflicts of interest, which we hope the BJP will be able to resolve.
Well, opening remarks, MJ Akbar, straight across to you. I don't think Mr. Pawan Verma is saying this only to provoke you. Though provoke you, he must have done when he says two things. That Narendra Modi has projected that he has a magic wand to solve all complex issues. I'm sure you noted the sarcasm of that. And the second part, where he continues to say that the easiest thing so far has been to criticize the Manmohan Singh government, which in Pawan Verma's view, even a child could have done. Your response, MJ Akbar, to the opening remarks of Pawan Verma on the Newshour this evening.
Thank you, Arnab. I just take Pawan's statement for what it is. But I'd like to change the metaphor. Metaphor not from the magician to the doctor. The Indian body politic, the Indian nation, is actually extremely ill. I mean, we don't need, I suppose Pawan's child would also recognize the ill health of the nation. And in this respect, you know, when you are in such a critical state, the first thing to do is actually to bring the fever down. So when the people say that they want rising prices to be brought under control, what they are saying really is first get the fever, the high fever, which is affecting, it's almost life-threatening. Let's get that down. Then after that, if there is any surgery required, if it's a physician's role, that we must see the doctor in our future Prime Minister come to the fore, then the economy can be nursed back to health, step by step, but quick step by step. I don't think we have very much more time, and you're right, the expectations are high. But you must give him credit for having, I think, of all the people that we've seen in recent times, of all the leaders we've seen in recent times, Narendra Modi has given a lot of time to intellectual preparation for this job. He has ideas, and he knows that now those ideas have to be put have to be converted into work, have to be converted into solutions, and that also requires the human component,
yes,
the human element. It requires radical approach to these problems. And I think you will see, I would also like to tell you that he has both a short-term ideas as well as a long-term solution. I'd like you specifically to point to one thing. For example, when he was talking of Ganga Clean Project, that impressed me a great deal. Not simply the fact that he was going to clean up the Ganga, which we all want and we've been wanting, ever since for how long I can't remember. But he also said that by 2019, which would be the 150th year of Gandhiji's birth anniversary, the whole country must believe in cleanliness and become clean. Now that requires a very powerful vision. I can't remember any other leader having put such a important vision before us. For God's sake, let's get this country back to to the best status that it can find. Let us find it within ourselves, not just within the government, to become what India can be and what we all want to see this nation. One of the things that I think we were all impressed by, I was deeply moved by, was his great sense of nationalism, that emotional nationalism which came through, which is really a belief, his strong message that poverty is the curse that we must eliminate from the destiny of our nation.
Mr. Akbar, I appreciate the sentiments of what you have said, but emotion are one thing and delivering another. I like the change of metaphor. Both of you as excellent debaters are using different metaphors. One uses the metaphor of the magician. M.J. Akbar breaks it realistic. He says, use the metaphor of a doctor. Taking M.J. Akbar's metaphor a little further, I'd say, M.J. Akbar, the difference between the doctors today and 50 years back is that 50 years back, a patient used to go to the doctor would give the medicine, the patient would go back and hope he gets better. Today, a patient goes to a doctor, the doctor gives the medicine, and Vandana Shiva will come next, and the patient asks, what impact will that have on my gastric system? How soon will I get better? Will my other organs get affected? Will I need antibiotics, and what are the side effects? In other words, today's voter, M.J. Akbar, is like today's patient, far more informed, far more curious, and far more questioning. I today would like to say expectation number one, I hope you agree with me, M.J. Akbar, expectation number one right now, I am told, leading by far on the Times Now poll, is the expectation that Narendra Modi will bring down prices. Now, Vandana Shiva, I go back to you, and I think our challenge is to draw Mr. Akbar into specifics today.
Arnab, if I may, a minute.
Okay.
These rising prices are the fever that require immediate attention.
Agreed.
But once you've brought the fever down with an ice pack, then you have to get the cure. The rest of the body, if required, spend time, but get the cure and get the cure done properly.
I get your point, but you go back 10, 12 years, the BJP-led NDA government had freed 2002 petrol and diesel prices, resulting in a revision of rates on the 1st and 16th of every month. That deregulation began on April 1st, 2002, was discontinued right on the eve of the general election. Now, at this point of time, Mr. Modi is non-committal on fuel subsidies, right? But the BJP has been at the forefront of criticizing the UP on fuel prices. I'm picking this point up, Vandana Shiva, and I want you to come in because fuel prices determine overall prices. Diesel prices go up in a cascading manner, then overall prices cannot be brought down. Mr. Akbar knows that. Should we draw the debate now into specifics? Because number one public expectation is prices. Your turn, Vandana Shiva.
Yeah, I think for the ordinary person, for that poor laborer getting once in a week daily wage, for the poor landless laborer cultivating on farms, and more of our farmers are becoming landless laborers as the land is appropriated through debt mechanisms. For them, the most important price rise is the price rise in food and food inflation. And this has been the reason there was so much anger at the last government. My expectation of the government that is forming, and I don't see it as only one man, a democracy of 1.25 billion cannot be run by one individual, no matter how smart and how committed he be. But the new government needs to tackle the agrarian and food crisis we face. The policies that have pushed 284,000 of our farmers to suicide, pushed every fourth Indian into hunger and every second child into severe malnutrition, is a policy that must be changed. Sadly, all the signals are that wherever it's a wrong policy, the new government is exactly a clone of the UPA.
Give me one example. Let Meghnad Desai counter you after that.
The oil minister who became...
Give me one example and then Meghnad Desai counters you after that.
Examples, so many people. The dependence on high costs, if you're talking of rising prices, we also need to talk about the rising costs of production for farmers,
right.
More and more dependent on purchased seed, patented seed, royalty collections, 8,000% increase in cotton seed prices over the last decade and a half. We are talking about a debt crisis that has become a very, very severe survival crisis for our farmers. The second continuity is the FDI and retail. Now on that, the last government was willing to forego its coalition dharma and allowed Mamata Banerjee to leave the coalition to push through FDI and retail. Everything we've heard, FDI and retail is the push, and sadly the lobby groups of these giant interests are so efficient, they're probably already meeting the new government, and if democracy is reduced to lobbying, if economy is reduced to oligarchy, we are very going
Aren't you being overly cynical at the start?
Anger. We are very soon going to see. Well, it's not cynical, I'm just serious and real. I'm not cynical, I'm real because I am connected to this land, and I wish Mr. Modi would translate Saugandh is mitti ki. That Saugandh is what we need. For
well,
the people
right
who
now,
work the land, work the soil, which is more... every second Indian is a farmer, and you can't have an economic model wishing away 750 million
Meghnad
people.
Desai.
I would like to see anyone who recommends that to give me a solution to that displacement.
Meghnad
Where
Desai.
are they going to put all the displacement?
Meghnad Desai drawing into the debate, Mr. Meghnad Desai. And by the way, feel free to come in, Sanjay Jha and Kiran Bedi. I'm coming to you next. In case you don't come in on your own so far, I will be coming to you. I'm just letting initial observations be made. Meghnad Desai, you see, first you can respond. She makes a charge on key issues. She indicates Congress and BJP are the same. She's prepared for disappointment. And she also says that she's not convinced that in elements of detail, the BJP is going to be very much different from the Congress. Let me take one Meghnad Desai. And I keep coming back to the whole issue of what the promises of the BJP have been. The BJP, for example, has promised to increase the minimum support price availability for farmers. You know, Meghnad Desai, that equals directly proportional to inflation. You know that the NDA risks the prospect of food inflation, which therefore is what the UPA government faced such a lot of flack for. You also know that unless they keep diesel prices down, transportation costs go up, food inflation goes up as well. Now, MJ Akbar can dismiss this as going too much into detail and trying to undermine the importance of the victory, but this government will also have short time to respond to all of these issues. 3 months down the line or 4 months down the line, if prices don't come down, Meghnad Desai, then people will ask the questions, where are the Achhe Din which were promised? Now, is there a short-term solution, or is Vandana Shiva asking for too much?
Let me first of all begin by saying Vandana Shiva is quite right that the price of food is a centrally important matter for most people, especially poor people. And I think the first thing the government can do, without all the many other things Vandana Shiva rightly wants, is to release stocks of food grains which are there, which UPA2 failed to release, and therefore bring down the rate of growth of food prices and perhaps food grain prices as well. It is not rocket science. This can be done very quickly. The Food Corporation of India is an extremely inefficient body. It wastes a lot of food grains. It lets it rot. We need a reform of Food Corporation of India. But the immediate release of food grains from the stocks, because we are facing possibly a difficult monsoon. We are facing El Nino. we may have a drought. So it's very important that one of the first things the government does is move on the food grain front and bring down the fever in the economy on the food grain front. That's the first thing. Now, I am, as you know, you've known me for a long time, a hard man on fuel prices.
Yeah.
I think energy has to be conserved. You cannot waste energy, and you should not subsidize energy.
Yeah.
Most energy consumers are rich people. And they always make the excuse that, oh, the price of things will go up due to transport, but you're really helping the rich. So I am a great believer that whatever happens, we must increase the price of fuel in line with international prices so that
Meghnad Desai, people want to see people, one second. It's one thing to be hard.
And it's very important.
It's one thing to be hard. It's one thing to be hard on issues.
Given those two things,
I am asking you today, does the government, does any government,
the third thing is,
no, Lord Mayor, now I'm saying, does any government have the luxury of being hard on issues after being voted it on the weight of public expectations like this one? I asked today, let me get, you say energy.
Are you asking me or asking somebody else?
I'm raising a broad question. I want this debate to open up.
I'm out of
My question is this. No, don't be out of it. My question is this. You say energy. I say you ask any average household what is energy. The first thing they'll tell you is LPG cylinders. You know, for example, let me ask Kiran Bedi and Sanjay Jha, draw them in and then we open up on LPG cylinder.
LPG is Arnab Goswami, LPG cylinder is consumed by less than a majority of the population. Okay. I know the numbers.
But the most
Pawan
Verma.
Prices ought to be controlled.
No, you can't afford to say that. This government can't afford to say that.
Subsidizing LPG prices has been the problem.
No, it can't be the problem. It's a very...
You asked me how to bring down inflation.
The middle class of this country...
to run the economy efficiently.
Are you saying today...
Stop subsidizing the rich. Stop subsidizing the rich.
Sir, what are you saying?
And lower the price of food.
Sir, that's going to be unacceptable to the people. Today, if you say this, stop subsidizing the rich, and people will say the increase in the subsidy cap, you know, in LPG has led to a 5,000 crore addition to the fuel subsidy bill. Therefore, the BJP should roll back the cap to 9 to reduce our fiscal burden. People will understand that. People will say, you've let us down if you do that. You can't roll back the subsidy on LPG.
I'm not applying for a job. As an economist, I'm telling you what ought to be done. If you want soft policies, if you want subsidies continued, if you want the same old policies, then inflation won't come down. Thank you very much.
Sir, my question...
Either you tackle the economy properly, stop spending money, or you will have inflation.
See, sir, that's you understand what happened. Why did the UPA government have to increase the cap on subsidized LPG cylinders from 9 to 12? Because they suddenly realized that not doing so was making them very unpopular.
I'm for increasing the price. I'm not criticizing UPA for that. I think it's good policy.
But they had to take it back. But they had to take it back.
Fuel.
Good policy was bad politics.
It's very expensive. And it's also harmful to the environment. So stop subsidizing energy.
I asked this question. Let's go Sanjay Jha, Kiran Bedi into the debate. You see this hard economic argument, if you try to put it among the people tomorrow, they'll say, well, we voted in a government with the expectation prices will come down, LPG subsidies will actually increase, not come down. And the expectation number one is prices. This hard economic argument is not going to work. Kiran Bedi joins the debate. Yes, please. And I'm finding it very interesting that Sanjay Jha actually has been completely demure on the debate so far tonight. He's being very observant on the debate tonight. Completely uncharacteristic of you, Mr. Jha, if I may say so.
Kiran Bedi. I thought you were going to ask me to come in.
Well, thank you. Today you asked...
I'm waiting for my turn, Mr. Goswami.
Absolutely. I am very happy. I don't know. This is a post-CWC effect. Kiran Bedi.
Arnab, you talking about gas cylinders?
Yes.
I'm talking of human cylinders. Unless you fire all human cylinders in the bureaucracy, how will gas cylinders be taken care of? Because the government is like a body politic. It's an organic whole. All ministries actually contribute to each other's failure or success. Government is an organic whole. And what MJ said is right. You've got to bring down the fever of the body politic. And Mr. Modi has started it. Today's newspapers was very heartening. He's asked every secretary to prepare a presentation for him as to what's gone wrong. What is it that they need to kill kill that paralysis, kill that disjointment, kill that scare, kill that mistrust? Unless you bring trust back, unless you bring courage back, unless you bring alignment back, tell me how will you fire all cylinders? And then all cylinders are fired, everything works. Economy works, education works.
That's rhetoric.
Health works.
That's rhetoric, Ms. Bedi.
Everything works.
That's rhetorical, Ms. Bedi. I'm being specific. You're being rhetorical.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not rhetoric. I have been part of administration for 35 years. I understand bureaucracy. Unless the 100 secretaries of Government of India are in alignment with the Prime Minister, and I can tell you the day they are aligned in courage, in delivery, in vision, and in practicalities, you will not have the results. And I can tell you, Mr. Modi has the leadership capability to do it, because he's the first Prime Minister who's actually empowering secretaries to tell him what has gone wrong, what is it you want, what is that I can do you so that you can be courageous. I think that's the beginning of the...
Sir, that's all right. No, that's all right. No, that's all right. You asked the Aam Aadmi today, and not Sanjay Jha who wants to come into the debate. You asked the Aam Aadmi today, what do you want? And I'm telling you today, the kind of feedback that we are getting on this debate, bringing down prices is the overwhelming #1 public expectation. And on an issue such as that, will come a dilemma for the new Modi government. The dilemma will be that you promise, in the past, in fact, Narendra Modi has promised to have a higher minimum support price for farmers. But everyone knows that this is a move which immediate impact, even Meghnad Desai cannot disagree, that move will stoke food inflation immediately. And for people who have suffered from food inflation, how do you know? How do you know, Kiran Bedi?
That's not true. There's
a known fact, Ms.
There's a total decoupling between farmers' price and the price in the market.
But that may, ma'am, the general view is that, when you increase, for example, they have been increasing wheat prices year after year from 650 rupees per quintal to some 1,400 rupees per quintal in 2013. And it is a known fact that stoked food inflation. You may not agree with it, but I'm saying this is the general view. My question is, what will Mr. Modi do?
No, it does. And please look at the data.
Ma'am, I'm looking at the data.
In spite of this increase in MSP, the farmers are having a net negative income. They're still losing because of the model of agriculture, which is capital intensive, chemical intensive, external input intensive. That's why you have to lower the costs of production to be able to lower the costs of food.
No, you see, this argument...
between what the farmer gets and what the retail prices are, there is an increase of almost 40-50%, which is taken up by middlemen. Data reveals that many of these middlemen have been very vociferous supporters of the BJP. I don't mean middlemen in a pejorative way. It's part of the food chain, from the spade to the fork.
No, you see...
Now, Meghnad gave a very clinical economist analysis.
Yes.
Politics is a complex machinery, and I wish the government well. Today is the time not to already express a doubt, but to express a wish list. And my wish list, before Sanjay comes into the debate, is that Mr. Modi should, in my view, harmonize the requirements and competing and conflicting priorities of the need for more inclusive government and the demands, which are also legitimate in their own way, of a very, very strong corporate and foreign investor lobby. Sometimes they don't match. You have to harmonize them, because as Vandana said, this country consists also overwhelmingly of the poor, of the illiterate, of the malnutrition.
True.
It's not merely those who may have contributed in some manner to this election.
You see, my only view, and Sanjay Jha comes into the debate. He's being invited into the debate tonight. Sanjay Jha is being drawn into the debate tonight. Usually Sanjay Jha jumps into the debate. Tonight, Sanjay Jha is being drawn into the debate. The point is on specifics tonight. And I ask, why should we not discuss specifics? After all, the 23rd governor of the Reserve Bank of India, Raghuram Rajan, you ask him what has been the approach of the government to tame inflation, he will tell you the approach of the RBI has been to hike interest rates, thereby hitting growth. So why, so there is a growth versus inflation choice as well. While you improve the supply side problems to tame inflation, the long-term solution in the immediate future, what will this government do? The immediate challenge is what people will ask. Did you bring down my prices? Did my prices come down? You will be tested on that in 3 or 4 months. Sanjay Jha, no, not that you are in an exalted position today after the disastrous performance of the UPA, but you can choose to come into the debate if you wish. Yes, please. Sanjay.
Well, thanks very much for that introductory welcome. But let me just say this, Arnab, that I want to borrow the metaphor from Mr. M.J. Akbar. The problem with many doctors is when they tell you that they have a panacea for every problem that India faces, that the doctor might end up being a quack. And the reason is very straightforward. Inflation has been an issue, and I can tell you to a great extent we have paid a political cost for it. But the reality of why inflation sustained is something that even this government will have to encounter. And one of them is what you have been rightly mentioning right throughout the program is oil prices. Now, I want to remind Mr. Akbar and Kiran Bedi, human cylinder or whatever it may be, that the oil prices is determined by international markets that affect us. And international prices were at $1.30 a barrel in the time of the NDA, and on an average was around 100 a barrel during our time. And oil being an essential input into any part of a production process, it is inflationary. And therefore the key point, because Raghuram Rajan has been constrained, and I can tell you that most analysts will agree that an interest rate cut is not imminent in the short term, and you need that to get growth going off. Now the problem is that the BJP has been telling all along, Arnab, that inflation is a problem that is very easy to resolve. I can tell you that the reason why we lived for a long time with inflation, and I'll confess on your program today, we were unable to tame it to the extent we should have, which should have been around 4 to 5% at maximum. I'm talking about wholesale inflation. No, I'm talking about base level inflation should have been controlled at 4 to 5%. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because, there are certain issues which were driven by global conditions. And even today, there are worries, Arnab, that if America were to taper down even by 50 basis points in growth, India will face a lot of problems in terms of its,
You almost seem to be hoping that America will.
Jobs. Those things will become monumental challenges. So no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying
that. You almost seem to be hoping that America will. The problem for this
government is that they have raised expectations. I'm not saying that. I'm not at all, because I've got some family there and I want them to do well.
Government.
So I have a private vested interest. 1 minute, I have a private vested interest in America's prosperity. But let me make a different point here, that the truth is we are globally interconnected. And every time we made this point,
that excuse I've heard for the last 4 months.
What, you're giving us some
that excuse I've heard for the last 4 months.
But I'm telling you right now,
your
India has a lot of serious challenges going forward. We have got FII money into the stock markets, but I can tell you, stock markets is not the indication of your macroeconomic fundamentals. A lot of it has improved during our time, like current account deficit is very low. Fiscal deficit is definitely under control, but needs to be lower. But this government, I think they are inheriting a good economy. They are inheriting an economy which is already on the upward. It's bottomed out completely.
Good economy.
But the BJP will have to deliver on this
good economy.
Because,
Sanjay Jha, be careful of what you're saying tonight. Good economy, you say. Sanjay, be careful of what you're saying. Your growth falls from 8.5% to under 5%. Your fiscal deficit soars under your tenure. The number of unemployed people, the unemployment rate goes up 3% in rural areas, urban India, and 2% in rural India. Prices go up, vegetable prices go up by 350%. How can you say tonight that the economy is in a good shape?
Yeah, food inflation was high.
Food inflation, everything was high.
I'm talking about current account deficit.
Akbar has a right to
current account deficit was under control.
You ruined infrastructure. You ruined infrastructure. You didn't start off any projects in your tenure.
Apart from any other conditions, governance is also an issue.
On infrastructure projects. On infrastructure projects, I think there was a lot of over-investment by a lot of large capital projects that were not remunerative. Now, how they bid for it is for them to explain.
Come on, Kiran Bedi, opening up
the larger issue.
By the way,
the larger issue.
No. Now we are opening up the debate.
A lot more foreign direct investment.
No, Sanjay, that's nice defensive batting.
Does not reverse FDI and multi-brand retail.
That's nice.
Increases the 1 minute. One last point.
Sanjay, what is
I've come in so late, and I've come in after 30 minutes on your program.
That's your choice.
That's a record that you and I have never had in Newshour for the past 3 years. So let me. No, it was not my choice. It was your choice too. You brought me in last. But I want to make one last point, that the government needs to also increase FDI in insurance. These are big. Insurance is big because you get a lot of money and they do help infrastructure.
You know, Sanjay.
So I'm hopeful. I mean, I'm wishing the BJP government the best. I would like to take an opportunity to wish the BJP government the best. My only challenge is that I feel that they will face is that they have raised expectations so skyrocketing high that if they don't deliver on some
that you're looking, you want a political dividend of everything. By the way, we are opening up to rebuts, but I am being told we have a huge number of callers coming in, and I think that we should put some of our viewers on air right now. By the way, let's just list up expectation number 1. Kiran Bedi, I see your hand go up. Now we are going to go into feedback and responses from Kiran Bedi, MJ Akbar, Meghnad Desai, Vandana Shiva, but right now leading right on top is the vote of the people that Mr. Modi should bring down prices. That, of course, is number 1. Expectation number 1 of the entire country is to bring down prices. And we have a first caller here today.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening. On expectation number 1, Mr. Shivaraman, who's a scientist from Mumbai, is calling in. What do you think he should be looking at, Mr. Modi?
This important job for Narendra Modi to attend in this country. We are the youngest intelligent population throughout the internationally. We are the youngest population and intelligent and educated population. The unemployment rate has gone up in UPA 1 and 2. And even this issue, Narendra Modi, even if he attend it immediately, it will pave way for around 1 million jobs, create 1 million jobs immediately by reducing the retirement age in government service and by stopping the extension in government service. At least 1 million jobs can be created immediately. Pensionary benefit government should not think about it.
Yes, Mr. Sivaraman. Mr. Sivaraman, thanks for calling in. Now we are going to take a response to what Sanjay Jha said from MJ Akbar. MJ Akbar, I don't know if you're seeing the rankings out there, but its bring down prices today has 2 or 3 times as many votes as the next one, which is of job creation. Your response to Sanjay Jha, please, Mr. Akbar.
Yes, I can understand prices. As I said, that is the high point of the fever. But I'm glad to hear from my friend Sanjay Jha that he's recommending that the BJP should do all the things that the Congress failed to do in 10 years. If they were also obvious, one is amazed that they were not done before. 1. Number 2, you know, when I hear this talk about inflation, I recall all the time, if you look at the newspapers, and I'm sure, Arnav, you will bear me out, every 2 or 3 months, either the Finance Minister, Mr. Chidambaram, or the Deputy Chairman Planning, Dr. Ahluwalia, used to say, yes, inflation is going to come down in exactly 6 weeks, just a few weeks more. Just a few weeks more, it's just around the corner. Nothing ever happened. So were the worthies of the last government really telling us lies? Will they misleading us when they made these promises? The thing is that one of the important points about aspects of inflation is also speculation. It's also the fact of a very arbitrary levels of exploitation in prices. Now, some administrative responsibility, some administrative decisions can be taken in this respect. And as Lord Meghnad Desai has said quite clearly, you have to use other mechanisms like releasing food, like putting availability into the market and so on and so forth. I'm talking really from a common sense perspective rather than an economist perspective, but I'm sure there are things that can be done. But simultaneous with this really is what our caller from Bombay said, jobs. I tell you, the anger at unemployment is really much higher, much higher, because you're playing with the future of the youth out there. And their anger is, one of the things that you did not mention, Arnab, when you were summing up in a sense the debate, was that the collapse of the manufacturing sector. Now you take ideas like
Arnab, I have a question for Mr. Akbar.
Even if 10 cities start, What does 10 cities do? They create jobs at the lowest or the second,
That's good.
at the lower rungs.
No, but
of
that's
the economy,
that's good.
and
But
for people who need it most, and that
But then,
is why these great infrastructure projects will help alleviate
Akbar,
the anger and frustration.
Mr. Akbar, if I can just interrupt you for a minute.
May I come in now?
couple of points coming in. By the way, I'm extending this debate to go beyond 10 o'clock. Please, we'll take more callers.
Mr.
Yes,
Modi,
please.
in today's
One
speech,
second, just a minute.
Yeah, Mr. Modi in today's speech made a mention, Mr. Akbar, about, doing things for the poor. He said this government is for the poor. Now, it's very different from, the general assumption that you have got, a lot of free market in, fundamentalists as economic advisors, whose articles, if I'm to believe, and I've been reading them very religiously, say that your government is going to be focused on growth and growth and growth. My question to you, Mr. Akbar, is that unfortunately, no country can predict its growth. It's impacted by many variables. So, are you going to therefore increase subsidies because you're worried for the poor? Or are you going to cut
Okay,
subsidies?
one second, Sanjay Cha, I interrupt you because the number of phone calls on expectation number 1 debate is just phenomenal. And Kiran Bedi, I'm coming to you next, but I will be unfair to the number of people. In fact, I'm told our next caller on public expectation number 1 debate is from someone watching in Muscat. Mr. Subramaniam is watching in Muscat. Vandana Shiva, I know your hand is up. Kiran Bedi, Vandana Shiva, apologies, I'm coming to you. He's the manager from Muscat. 1 second. Mr. Subramaniam, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, now, how are you?
Go ahead. I'm doing very well, Mr. Subramaniam. What's your expectation number 1?
Yeah, before I start, first of all, I would like to congratulate BJP and Modi ji for their superb performance in the election.
Oh, for God's sake.
And this is not the time to be cynical, and we need to be positive and hopeful.
Okay, now come to your expectation number 1.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, 2 important things. One is the employment as well as inflation. These are the 2 things which can really take care of the middle class and the poor people. So, Modi ji, I am hopeful that he will make sure that these are all done.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Subramaniam, it's all linked in a way. When we talk of a crackdown on corruption, if that happens, leads to investment, leads to jobs, and eventually that leads to a situation where, people do not feel the brunt of a government that does not function and also allows inflation on the other side. One more caller, Mr. Shah is calling in. Mr. Shah is calling in from Mumbai. Mr. Shah, quickly please. Good evening.
Sir, first of all, congratulations to नरेंद्र मोदी. और जो आप जब इन्फ्लेशन की बात कर रहे हो
जी,
कि प्राइस राइज इतना बढ़ गया है और एक ही दिन का तो सॉल्यूशन है नहीं. जैसे अकबर जी ने कहा था कि कोई बीमारी जब भी एक्यूट हो जाती है तो उसको पहले निकालने के लिए इमीडिएट के लिए आप आइस पैक रख देते हो, लेकिन ये जब बीमारी निकालने के लिए पहले कुछ कड़वी दवाई देनी पड़ती है, उसके बाद ही वो बीमारी दूर होती है. और मुझे विश्वास है कि अगर मोदी सरकार और मोदी सरकार के पूरे जो स्टाफ है पूरा, अगर उनको पूरी तरह सपोर्ट देंगे तो 100% शुरुआत की बीमारी को दर्द भरी होने के बाद भी इस तरह से उनको क्लियर कर देंगे. तो हमें जनता को भी कुछ देर तक
yes, Mr. Shah. Yes, Mr. Shah. So, I put this. Mr. Shah, first of all, बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद जो आपने बात कही, कड़वी दवाई देने की बात. सिर्फ सवाल मेरा ये है और किरण बेदी जी इस बात पर आए कि जब कड़वी दवाई दी जाएगी तो लोगों का भरोसा होगा, लोग समय देंगे, लोग क्या लंबे दिनों के लिए कड़वी दवाई खाने के लिए तैयार होंगे? किरण बेदी एंड लॉर्ड मेघनाथ देसाई. किरण बेदी फर्स्ट.
इन्होंने स्टाफ की बात की, मैंने वही कहा था. कौन सा स्टाफ जो इनएफिशिएंट हो चुका है, कौन सा स्टाफ जो सेक्रेटरीज कमजोर हो चुके हैं, जब तक वो जानेंगे नहीं, जब तक उनको हिम्मत नहीं मिलेगी, वो काम नहीं करेंगे. तो ये जितने आपने प्रायोरिटीज दी हैं, वो क्या प्राइस राइज सिर्फ एक मिनिस्ट्री का फेलियर है? क्या कोई मिनिस्ट्री अगेंस्ट प्राइस राइज है? इंटर मिनिस्ट्री है. इंटर मिनिस्ट्री कोऑर्डिनेशन फेल होती है, इनएफिशिएंसी होती है, जिसकी वजह से प्राइस राइज होती है. वो इन्होंने भी बोला स्टाफ. मैं यही तो कह रही हूं कि ये जब तक हाउस इन ऑर्डर नहीं होगा, वो डिलीवर कैसे करेगा? वी वांट अ disarrayed, a house which was in disarray to be put in order.
Yes.
And here is a man who's not even yet taken over as a prime minister. We need efficient staff to start removing these.
No, but Miss,
many other things will be taken care of.
Yes, Miss Bedi, but I can put to you from a journalist to someone who says I am now looking at joining the Indian political service. I can tell you, when you join the Indian political service, which I feel you will do very soon, I don't know. There is one buzz that you'll be Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. There's one buzz you'll be the Chief Ministerial candidate. One buzz says you will be the advisor to the Modi government on bureaucracy. Let's see which one of these come true. Don't look surprised. I am a journalist and I live in the world of intelligence speculation. But one question goes here today, that why has the previous government not cracked down on the middlemen on food inflation? The previous government has not cracked down on the hoarders. If Mr. Narendra Modi wants to be strong and have a tough policy, मैं तो कहता हूं जो कड़वी दवाई है, the tough medicine, the strong medicine should be given to the middlemen and the hoarders. It should be so tough that they should cease to exist after that. Yes, I see a hand go up, Meghnad Desai, but before I come to you, Meghnad Desai, next caller is from Chennai, Mr. Ganeshan calling in from Chennai. Yes, Mr. Ganeshan. Mr. Ganeshan, good evening, and just turn on the volume of your television, otherwise we'll hear an echo here.
Yeah. Arnabji, I am your fan.
Thank you very much. I am your fan too. Please continue.
Yeah. See, I used to watch your debate always. I never miss. First point is that internal security should be strengthened.
Yes.
Because during Modi's rule, in future, there should not be any single communal clash in our country.
Well said.
I strongly believe that our neighboring countries are creating all these nonsense in our country. So Modi should have a strong internal security system, as well as for external, he should inform all neighbor countries that we are peace-loving people and we don't want to fight with anyone and we need prosperous.
Well, Mr. Ganeshan, thank you for watching. Thank you for your call. Meghnad Desai, why were you nodding your head in the negative out there? Internal security is a great expectation, especially from a BJP government. Yes, Meghnad Desai.
Yes, but I don't think the idea that labor and ratio is going to rise and therefore you're going to beat down the workers. But to come to the main point, 3 years ago, Narendra Modi put forward an 11-point plan to the central government on how to control inflation, which includes getting rid of the middlemen or making the whole supply chain more efficient.
Yes, I remember that.
He had this plan. The government did not implement it, so he comes ready. He comes ready with a very intelligent thought about the marketing reforms, about warehousing reforms, about improving the supply chain,
yes,
about improving the cold storage. So I think this is a very well prepared, thought out plan.
Good
and
point.
I'm sure he'll be able to implement it.
Well, you know,
I think it will take 6 months, but it will. The prices will come down.
Well, you know, this is one point I'd also like to raise. Meghnad Desai puts
a quick response to what Mr. Meghnad Desai said. A quick response. Number one, the middleman is an issue of different state governments. It's not just a central government.
No, that's again a defeatist approach.
If you really want to improve cold
that's a cynical approach.
No, 1 minute.
Your government
if you
got
really
the report from
want to
Mr.
supply
Modi
chain management, if you really want to get better cold storages,
please.
If you really want to cut down transportation, then why are you against FDI and multi-brand?
Same old line. Pawan Verma countering you here. Even the JDU is not willing to listen to you. Pawan Verma.
And ensuring products go, as they say, from the farmer to the
Shiva
fork.
coming to you.
Why is the BJP contradicting itself?
Why don't you understand one thing, Sanjay Jha? That Narendra Modi. Okay, fine.
Arnab, allow me.
Pawan Verma, allowed. Go ahead.
Arnab.
Go ahead.
Arnab, this is not the time again to fall into the familiar BJP Congress acrimony. A new government has come to power and we have to wait to see what its priorities and blueprint for governance is. But I was impressed by what one of your callers said. Your caller said that some kadvi dawai has to be given.
Yeah.
And in Tulsi Das's Ramayana there is a very telling line.
Yes.
Bin kadvi bheshaj piye mitay na tan ki taap. Without having a bitter medicine, the pain from the body will not go. The problem, Arnab, is, and I'm sure Mr. Modi will find a solution, is that now that he is in the chair of those who govern and not the critic outside, India is not a monolith. There are many competing priorities and different people are going to say, the rich, the middle class and the vast number of the poor,
yes,
that the medicine has to be different from each other. This is the problem of running a complex country.
Point taken.
I'm sure he'll find a solution, perhaps mix all the medicines together.
Sir,
but let's not undermine the problem.
Sir,
and especially when juxtaposed with the expectations he raised, it is time we wait and watch how he delivers, and I hope he delivers.
Vandana Shiva to come in next. And after that, I'm coming to you, Meghnad Desai. I'll just say the Kadvi Dawai has been there. Narendra Modi headed a working group on consumer affairs, constituted in April 2010. It gave its report in January 2011. It told the government what Kadvi Dawai is required. But I think one of the reasons what happened in that period, Meghnad Desai and Vandana Shiva, was this was also the period when all scam after scam broke out and shook the UPA government so hard that by the time this report was actually given in, Manmohan Singh was clutching at straws for political survival. All that Narendra Modi needs to do today, some will say, is pick up that old book of what his own recommendations were for a supply side attack on inflation, and maybe all state governments will support him also in that. Yes, Vandana Shiva.
Yeah, quickly, you know, Kadvi Dawai reminds me of IMF, World Bank structural adjustment conditionalities. They always use the phrase bitter medicine. So let's not treat it as real therapy. Secondly, this prescription that's being given of bringing in FDI and retail forgets the fact that in that model, not only does the farmer get a 40% share, the farmer gets a 2% share.
Yeah.
We're dealing with a double crisis, rising costs of basic necessities, but falling incomes of the poor. That is why farmers are committing suicide. If we don't crack that one, and if we allow a 2% model to set in, our small farmers will be wiped out.
So you tackle corruption.
I think when our future Prime Minister, but it won't tackle corruption. Walmart is the most corrupt organization of the world. Just look at the data.
Now you are on a familiar turf.
Look at the way they exploit their workers. Look at the cases against them.
Yeah, but where's Walmart in India? Where's Walmart in India? There's no Walmart in India.
2019.
There's no Walmart in India.
2019 was cited repeatedly by Mr. Modi.
I'd say
what do you think? FDI was created
2 minutes.
Walmart.
2 minutes on the debate.
Lobbying.
One caller.
Let me come to my final point. My real point is this. 2019 as Gandhi's vision is not just about cleanliness. It is about another economic paradigm. It's about every person having work and meaningful work and dignity. Let Gandhi not be forgotten in this period.
Well, you know, it's all linked in a way. I keep making the point, corruption, inflation, investment is all linked. We have one caller, last caller, and then Meghnad Desai and MJ Akbar will come in. From Bangalore this evening, Diwakar is calling. Diwakar, good evening.
Good evening, Arnav. First of all, nice to speaking to you.
Nice talking to you, Diwakar.
Yeah. Along with this, what the first priority, what I feel is, it is a law and order issue.
Absolutely.
Law and order issue, because along with other issues like inflation, foreign policy or security in our international border, including that intrusion of it, because everybody thinks they can get along with anything, whatever they do, including what Kadvi Dawai, what you spoke about right now, that this Kadvi Dawai is includes the law and order, the middleman, what they speak, what they eat more than the producer in the agriculture sector.
It's a good point, Mr. Diwakar.
This is the Kadvi Dawai that includes the law and order problem, which should be given a more priority, which will in turn will give it a lot of result in other.
Well, I think that's a good suggestion. Meghnad Desai, to you, and I'm closing with MJ Akbar today on our public expectations debate. Meghnad Desai, the nature of this debate, the expectations and the phone calls, do they make you feel that there are a lot of people out there who believe the solution is simpler than the BJP or the NDA would like them to believe?
Yes, of course. You know, the government has to say they are doing something, they are acting on the problem, but that bringing down prices is a 6 months to 9 months problem. The Kadvi Dawai has already been given by Raghuram Rajan in increasing interest rates. So you don't have to give any more Kadvi Dawai. Now we have to have supply side solutions to increase the availability of food grains and to bring down their prices. And that can be done in a horizon of 6 to 9 months.
Okay, MJ Akbar, last question. You've been a journalist, you've analyzed governments from the outside, and now you're going to be on the inside. My question to you is, of course, the government will say there is no honeymoon period. You know, we've been voted in for 5 years, not for 100 days. That's all for the media, etc. But in your own mind, how long will the honeymoon period start, and when will people actually start looking for solutions that impact their daily lives?
I think the people really want this government to hit the ground running, in all honesty. And I think many of the issues that have been debated today or not been debated very well, including we've had some very, very good interjections by your remarkably intelligent viewers. You know, they can be covered in 3 of the points that have been made today in the public discourse and in speeches and so on. Number 1, sabko saath leke chalo. That is critical that, you know, we should all as Indians now move together towards a common purpose. Number 2 is that development for all, and the emphasis on all really is huge. That means no one who's poor is going to be left behind. It is not going to be growth only for the rich. If the benefits of growth do not go down to those who need it most, far more than anyone else, that means the poor, right at, and irrespective of caste, creed, you know, whatever else may be the fault lines of our demography, that it has to be growth for all. And third, I think a phrase that will cover many of the issues that Kiran has raised, many of the issues that your viewers have raised: good governance. Good governance. Good governance is the antidote to corruption. Good governance is honest governance. Good governance is efficient. Good governance is where infrastructure projects are not trapped in files, but are put into place, and so on and so forth. And I think this is really the triangle around which I hope and I'm sure the future will proceed.
Well, Mr. Akbar, we're going to summarize all this. You're a member of the Strategic Affairs Committee of the BJP. When we summarize it at the end of the week, the day after the Modi government is sworn in, I would like your help in taking these suggestions to those who have been sworn in so that they can action at least some of what people think their expectations are of this government. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for that wonderful debate number 1 on the Newshour tonight.